Hi, welcome back. Okay, so today we're going to carry on with factoring trinomials of the form ax squared plus bx plus c, where a is equal to 1. Yesterday we did a really simple one. We did x squared plus 5x plus 6, which when factored gives us x plus 2 times x plus 3. One nice thing to do in math when you're learning is to go back and forth in the steps to get from one thing to the other. So if we multiply this out, we get x squared, x times x, plus 3x, x times 3, plus 2x, 2 times x, plus 6, 2 times 3. When we take the middle terms and combine them, we get x squared plus 5x plus 6, which is what we started with. So they're the same mathematically, it's just they're written in different forms. Okay, so today we're going to go on and do a couple more factoring situations, still of this form though. Alright, so let's do x squared minus 10x plus 24. So if we want to factor this, what we need is we need two numbers that multiply to make 24 and add to make negative 10. So I'm going to put the 24 here. And I'm going to start thinking about which numbers will work. So if I do 1 and 24, so we list pairs of factors that multiply to make 24. And we look for how those numbers potentially will add together to give us the middle number. Now these ones don't. They give us plus or minus 23 or plus or minus 25. We are after 10. So then we go to 2 and 12. Because 2 and 12 multiply to make 24, and we say, this could work. Because 2 and 12, when added, make either plus or minus 10 or plus or minus 14. Now it's negative 10 we're after. Okay, so it could work. But now we have an important test to do before we decide that these numbers are the right numbers. We have to say, what signs do these two numbers have to have on them in order to get negative 10? Well, we need this to be a negative and this to be a positive, right? Now, what happens if I multiply these two signs together? Now we run into a problem because those two signs multiplied give us a negative, and we need a positive. So if we were to go with these numbers, here's what would happen. We would have x plus 2 and x minus 12, which when multiplied out would give us x squared minus 12x plus 2x minus 24. So we get the right number in the middle, but we don't get the right sign at the back. So it won't work, okay? So now don't start fiddling around with the signs here, because if you do, you won't get negative 10 anymore. So we have to abandon these numbers, they're not the right ones. So we can go on and list 3 and 8. So I list them in sequential order so that I don't miss the number that I need, the pair of numbers that is the correct pair of numbers. So this isn't going to work because it gives us plus or minus 11 and plus or minus 5. So no, that's not going to work. Okay, so we have one more pair of factors that multiplies to make 24, and that's 4 and 6. So 4 and 6 make plus or minus 10, plus or minus 2. And by the way, you don't have to write all this down. You can just think it. Okay. So between the 4 and the 6, what do those two numbers have to have on them? What signs in order to get negative 10? Well, they both need to be negative, don't they? Okay, so now what? Now we do the sign test and we say, okay, what happens when I multiply those two signs? Do I get a plus? Yes, I do. So because of that, we know they're the right numbers and we just write out our factors. And we're done, okay? Now, if we multiply this out, we should get back here again. Otherwise, we've done something wrong. So we get x squared, x times x, minus 6x minus 4x plus 24. The middle terms will combine to give us x squared minus 10x plus 24. Okay, now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to look at something very similar to this one, but we're just going to change one of the signs. We're going to change it to x squared minus 10x minus 24. Okay, so we know the procedure by now. We write the back number down, and then we look at factors that multiply to make that number and that will add to make 10. We know 1 and 24 isn't going to work. So this time, let's investigate that 2 and that 12 again, like we did before. So what signs do we need to get negative 10? We need negative 12 and positive 2. Write those signs down so that you know you've done the test, the check for it, okay? And then we're going to multiply those two signs. We're going to ask ourselves, am I getting this sign? The answer is yes. So then what we do is we just write our two factors out. And we're done. Okay, and one last example. Let's do x squared minus 5x minus 6. So for this one, I'm going to write down 6. Now notice too, up here, I didn't write down negative 24, and I'm not writing down negative 6 either. I know it's negative, I can see that, but I'm going to deal with the signs later on when I do this sign check and when I do my plus and minus to get the middle number. That's when I'm going to check to make sure that the sign is the right, or that the signs are the right signs to work with. Okay, so 6. All right, so 1 and 6. Are those going to work? Maybe. We get plus or minus 7, plus or minus 5 when we add and subtract 1 and 6. Okay, so what signs do I need on those two numbers in order to get negative 5? Well, that one's got to be negative and that one's got to be positive. Then, what happens when I multiply those two signs together? I'm getting this sign. And so, since that's correct, that's the sign I need. I know they're the right numbers and the right signs, and so I just write out my factored form. And again, you can always multiply this back out again to see whether you've got it right. Okay, that's the first step of multiplying it out, and then when we bring those two terms together, we get what we started with. Okay, so that's all for today. Check out the next video, and we're going to do some more examples in those. Thank you.